So we're going to, the cases that had previously gone unreported are now getting reported in the county. So just as a note, until the state fixes that problem, and they're in the process of doing that, we will see some swings in the data. But currently, cases are still increasing, and hospitalizations, which had gone up through July and into August, have started to slightly decrease. So that's good news. But about 75% of the ICU beds are currently full in the county with people who either have COVID or a non-COVID illness. So that's a number that the county has been monitoring because obviously wants to ensure that there's ICU capacity for people who need it, whatever their illness. The county still has these two medical centers set up for overflow from hospitals. We have not reached the capacity of hospitals, so we're doing fine there. But as I previously mentioned, the Craneway in the Ford building in Richmond is set up for 250 beds, and there's some beds set up at the Antioch Fairgrounds. Neither of them have been needed, so that's good news. El Sobrante has had no deaths. I've been pushing to get disclosure of deaths by city, and that data is now up on the website. There are no deaths in El Sobrante. There are cases, still growing cases. In fact, the most recent data looks like there are 166 positive cases that had been reported in El Sobrante. Just by comparison, El Cerrito had 65, Pinole 157, Richmond 2,088, San Pablo 879. The county has been focusing a lot of outreach in the Latinx community. They have had the largest number of cases. More than half of the reported cases where we have data is in the Latinx community, even though they account for about 25% of the county's population. And that's a main reason why both Richmond and San Pablo have higher case counts. So is there a trend? Is it starting to level off? Health officer doesn't know, but the hospitalization number is down to 99 people in Contra Costa hospitals with COVID cases. That number had been up to about 110. As you probably know, the county also, in an effort to have reasonable enforcement, like many other counties, passed an administrative fine ordinance. Nobody has been fined under it, so that businesses that are violating the ordinance would get a warning and then an administrative fine. And the goal is really still to use education as the main vehicle to get people to follow and comply with the health orders. We still continue to recommend that people get tested. There's been a statewide delay in test results due to the number of people getting tested and the shortage of a chemical that's used in processing the test. What Contra Costa does is it has the ability to have 100 to 150 tests a day processed in its own public health lab. Those are turned around in 48 hours, or about 48 to 72 hours. Those are reserved for first responders and healthcare workers who need to get their results turned around quickly. All the other cases go to a private lab, and those have been running 10 days to 14 days, which is not acceptable at all. It's a statewide issue, and hopefully it'll get resolved soon so that the testing turnaround time at the private labs happens faster. But in the meantime, the county is still seeking people to get tested, which they are, and you don't need to have symptoms to get tested. There are 2 new sites opening in West County, the county is going to open up a large site near Richmond City Hall at the parking lot near the auditorium that will process about 400, can handle 400 individuals per day. And then it just opened a site in North Richmond. So when it opens the site at Richmond City Hall, the smaller site at Kennedy High School will close, and those staff will go over to the Richmond site. Kennedy High handles about 150 people a day. The Richmond City Hall site will handle about 400. Of course, there is a site in Pinole at the Pinole Library that's run by the state. You know, I'll take any questions that you have. Other than that, budget, the county has been, we had a budget hearing this week. Because of decreased revenue and the need for cuts, the county Animal Services Department Director unfortunately recommended the closure of the Pinole Animal Shelter. Right now there is there's only one, would be only one shelter in the county, and that would be the Martinez shelter. So whether you live in Far East County like Oakley or Brentwood, or Far South County, San Ramon or Danville, or West County, everyone would get their services out of the Martinez shelter. However, Animal Services is looking at doing more mobile services. I know James has gotten a number of calls on that and responded to that. I don't have the date of when it will actually close, but we can provide an update to that. You probably know that, well, you may not have gotten your tax bills yet, but the county assessor just released the new property tax roll for countywide on Monday. So there was an extension granted by the state to do that. And what we saw were assessed values went up about 4.5% countywide. So we had projected more conservative numbers like that. It is expected that there will be probably a similar, possibly a smaller increase countywide next year, because frankly, these numbers were based on valuations from earlier in the year, and a lot of the impact on properties may have happened since then. The governor has extended the time to pay property taxes to next spring. So eventually when you get your tax bill, if you file a form saying you've had financial hardship, the extension to pay those taxes would be until next spring. The Board of Supervisors did extend the eviction moratorium through September 30th, and we'll evaluate at that time whether it needs to be extended further. Otherwise, on budget, for counties, we get a lot of revenue, as I said last time, from state and federal government. Those revenues are down substantially. However, we've tried to minimize the cuts across county departments as much as possible, even with the increasing demands on services. So I'll stop there and take any questions. I'm just trying to be brief. I know you have a presentation from our fire agency, from Consolidated Fire, and I know that's a big issue because of wildfire season, and you'll want to hear that. So if you have any questions, I can take them at this time.
Okay, so we'll entertain questions first from the board and from the committee, and then from the general audience. So I just like to start off with a quick question, Supervisor Joya. How have we been in terms of getting more asymptomatic people, just regular public, to come out and get tested? We need to have a certain number of people tested every day in order to sample the population enough to make projections about the disease. So how are we doing there?
So I'm pulling up the data. That's where we've been doing well. We've had a big increase in the number of people tested. We're up to, the goal was to, let me look at our new tests per day. We've had, for example, on August the 8th, August 11th, we had 2,600 new tests. Let me say this, however. It's a little unclear. We've been doing well. It's unclear on the recent data because the state, remember I said that the state has had a problem getting all the data. So there was a period of time in which, despite our testing, we weren't getting the results back from the state. And so we saw a decrease in the number of tests. We now have a large increase. Some of that spike is due to the state now reporting cases that it had not reported before. For example, over the last couple of days, the new tests we had were 2,600. Prior to that, 4,800. Prior to that, 3,400. So that was clearly an increase. Our goal has been 2,000 tests a day, and we have been running pretty close to that. And we are now higher, but it's unclear if that's due to the testing problem at the state. But the bottom line is we are getting good reaction by all to get tested, and I think that's good news. I'm just looking here at numbers. Yeah, so it looks like the tested positive for the last 7 days. That's been running. That has come down slightly, and so that's good news. But
what number is it? I'm sorry to interrupt. What number is that at?
Let me pull that up here on the chart. Let me take another question while I pull it up. I know talking to the health officer, it got reported it had been it had decreased, but let me pull that up. Sometimes it's hard to find on the website. So
Mickey had
on
a
the
question.
website. Yeah,
Go ahead,
go ahead.
Mickey.
I just wanted to know if I thought I heard that there was testing also going on at local drugstores like CV. Is it going on
I'm
at
unaware
CVS and stuff?
of any in our area that
No?
are doing testing.
Oh, okay.
I'm unaware of that. Yeah, Kaiser's doing testing. Kaiser is doing testing.
But Kaiser will only test you if you have a symptom or you're about to have a procedure or a reason. You have to have a reason to get a test from Kaiser.
That's correct. The county health department has been encouraging Kaiser to broaden their testing protocol and criteria to get more people tested, but they have not had the capacity to do that. They have turned around their tests faster because they have their own lab and their own supply than the private labs, but they're not testing nearly as many people. So that's an issue
they're still not
we've raised.
They have the same problem with the reagents, and so I've had people complaining and having surgeries delayed and all kinds of problems because Kaiser can't turn the tests around either.
That's right. That has been a problem,
but that's state.
Yeah, right.
Do we have further questions from the committee? If not, then we can go to the audience. George, Melinda, any questions from you? James?
No.
Okay. Does anybody in our general audience have questions for Supervisor Joya?
Go ahead, Marilyn, I'm going to unmute you. Unmute yourself. There you go.
There we
go.
I'm very concerned. Well, actually, in some ways, I see this as an opportunity that with the animal control exiting providing services in the West County, more or less. I would like John Joya and others here to think about getting into a situation where we can have a contract with a nonprofit instead. They can bring a different approach to operating, and they will have the ability to raise funds that the county does not have. The other thing I wanted to talk about is May Valley Neighborhood Council Subcommittee on Disaster Preparedness wants to work with other neighborhood councils and unincorporated people in communicating how best to protect their homes with the wildfire season coming so quickly. And so we're proposing a new Facebook group or pages. We have to decide what's better to pull people together all throughout the El Sobrante Valley, which has 3 different agencies, you might say, between unincorporated Richmond and San Pablo and Pinole. So we'd like to pull people together, and that should be up by next month. Melinda's agreed to help represent El Sobrante MAC in communicating information. And she is also serving with me on the Wildcat Canyon Fire Protection Committee. I think that's the name. James, you can correct me. So we both can be feeding information to the community, but we have some special concerns about the planning for this whole valley and collaborations between protection agencies. So we hope this will provide that service. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, no,
Thank you
for that. Let me just say, our office is setting up a meeting shortly with Richmond Fire, Con Fire, East Bay Regional Park District Fire as part of the next Wildland Fire Group. This is this group of residents along the Wildcat Canyon interface from Kensington, El Cerrito, East Richmond, and into the El Sobrante Valley. And we actually have had the fire chiefs of all of those fire districts at our meeting. So again, it's the Con Fire Chief, Richmond Fire Chief, El Cerrito and Kensington Fire Chief, and East Bay Regional Park Fire Chief.
Mm-hmm.
I think you provided. Did you provide your name on that? I know that we have a couple of folks from May Valley. I'm sorry I can't see you because I phoned in, but we've got a couple of folks from May Valley who have signed up to represent May Valley as part of that group.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then they can provide information back to your group. So again, what we've been doing is trying to facilitate some discussion about coming together on even though each agency is working on that issue. For example, in Kensington, what we're doing is we've worked with the fire district and the police district in Kensington to work on some evacuation routes and no parking areas. It's a study they did. So we should talk about the same thing in the El Sobrante Valley. And again, that'll get discussed at our Wildland Fire meeting.
Thank you.
And I know James can take down your contact. I mean, Kate in my office staffs that. And I know, Melinda, you sent an email on that, and Kate was, I think it said that there's a meeting, a date they're looking at trying to set up within the next few weeks.
Right. John, Marilyn's already on that group, and I will just mention that Marilyn, and for other folks, if you unmute yourself to speak, because we have people on the phone, you have to recognize you're not just on television, you're also on radio. So you need to say your name and where you're from, because John might have recognized your name. He can't see you.
Yeah,
so.
I can't see you.
Please
Sorry. So I normally zoom in.
To practice when we're in person.
Gotcha.
Right.
And for those that are on the phone, I'm going to unmute everyone that's on the phone. And if you'd like to ask a question, go ahead and speak up now.
Okay, this is Shirley. I would like to ask a question about the students in El Sobrante Valley.
Yeah. About the what? Students?
Miss Shirley, you still there?
Yeah, Shirley had a question about the students in El Sobrante Valley.
Miss Shirley, go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah.
My question again is, I would like to know about the students that will start school next week It won't be at the school site. I think it's going to be by Zoom. So those students will never get tested if their parents don't take them in. How would we know if they've been tested or not?
Well, whether school occurs in person or virtually is really up to each school district of trying to apply general state guidelines. And my understanding, my daughter is just starting her junior year at El Cerrito High School, so she starts on Monday. The school district is holding classes virtually. I think they may be trying to also do some in outdoors in a park, certain classes, but essentially there's not the school sites themselves, or the classrooms are not open. So the school district has opted, right, for the time being, to have their instruction be online and virtual.
Okay, but that doesn't answer the question. Will they ever be tested, or the parents report or bring some evidence in?
What do you mean?
Shirley, that's probably a question better. That's probably a question better for the school district, since they are making.
But what do you mean about being tested? Because anybody can get tested for free, but they're not going into a classroom, and anybody can go to the county and get tested. So I guess I'm trying to understand the question.
Okay, I'll do what James gave me a good. Yeah, I'll ask. That's a better question for a school district.
Right, but let me just understand. The school district isn't doing their own testing. They're going testing it at one of the sites. I do know that.
John,
so I'm trying to.
John,
Yeah.
It's George Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I don't think Ms. Shirley is talking about COVID testing. I think she's talking about academic testing.
Oh, no,
okay.
COVID testing.
No?
No, yeah, medical testing. All of it. You know, are they getting their shots?
Oh, yeah.
Coronavirus testing.
Yeah, the school
Anyone can
district
get
requires
tested right
as
now,
usual. Yeah, let me just say, the school district requires as usual all the vaccinations and all of those things. But COVID testing, I'm not aware that they're requiring any COVID testing because they're not meeting.
All right, good. Thank you.
Are there other questions for Supervisor Joy? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Supervisor Joy, for coming in and participating. I know you've had a long day. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I'll stay on to hear the fire presentation a bit, and then I'll be getting off. So thanks.
So our next presentation is Lieutenant Buford of Bay Station, in summary of recent events in El Sobrante.
Lieutenant Buford, can you unmute yourself?
You need to unmute.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay, like I said, good afternoon, Supervisor Joya, members of the board, and the guests that's in the meeting. For the month of July, as you know, we always report a month back. There were 762 calls for service, which is down from the month of June, which was 801, and the month of May, which was 810. All those things, those stats were sent to Supervisor Joy's office. Now, with that being said, those calls for service, if you look into those stats, are a plethora of a lot of things. So don't get alarmed, but you know, El Sobrante is actually a big area, but the majority of those calls, like service to citizens, can be like, hey, it was some trash over here, or hey, this person was over here and we didn't think he or she should have been. So it's not like the crime rate in El Sobrante is going through the roof. That's not it at all. Actually, El Sobrante right now is actually very stable so far as violent crimes and crimes against persons and things of that nature. I heard it mentioned earlier about the supervisor mentioned about, you know, people in violation. Right now, we haven't had that many calls that come into our dispatch center for violations of COVID-19, but the calls that we have had, we've gone out and tried to educate them regarding the health officer's order. And we also know that right now that there are things in place that the supervisor said that's coming down the pike that will turn to more of an enforcement thing where fines will be, at that point, fines will be issued. I don't know if it was briefed last month. I was unable to make it, but there was one homicide that did happen in El Sobrante, and that individual was arrested and has been charged. So we actually solved that one within a couple of days. and we're able to get that individual into custody without any issues. Other than that, there's not, it's not a whole lot going on. Everything is pretty much steady, knock on wood. I had a couple of citizens that called me regarding fireworks. We did go out and, unfortunately, we weren't able to catch the firework violators, but we were able to catch a robbery suspect in that same location, who had just actually 211 someone. So we were able to arrest that individual and get the proceeds back. So whereas we didn't get the fireworks, we got a crimes against a person, a violent crimes against an individual. Other than that, like I said, it's pretty much been stable. And with that, I'll open questions up to the board first.
Okay, Lieutenant Buford, just regarding your experience in dealing with sites that are in violation of the health officer's order, what is your sense? Do you get a sense that these folks are defiant, or are people sort of willing to comply with the order and accepted the warnings?
In my experience, what I'm seeing, the vast majority of individuals actually complying with the order. Just a few bits, just very few bits, is one or two that we've actually found that have been open. But once we went and educated them, they actually closed right, within the next 10 to 15 minutes. So we haven't had a lot of defiance in my experience, or my supervisors or deputies have not informed me that we just had widespread defiance within the whole, actually, the west end of the county. So not just El Sobrante, but on this west end, we haven't had a lot of issues in the unincorporated areas.
That's good to hear. Are there further questions from the committee? Melinda.
Thanks, Lieutenant Buford. First off, I just want to thank Deputy Morales. We had a burglary at our site on 5166 Sobrante Avenue. Someone managed to steal a 300-pound generator out of the building and relock the building. We still don't know how it happened, but I just want to compliment Deputy Morales, and we will keep working on that. I don't expect to get it back, but good service there, and I appreciate it. My other question is, there continue to be these enormous parties at night, not just in my neighborhood, but in other neighborhoods. I'm not the only person who's seen this happen. And these parties are in an ordinary non-COVID time, they end early enough and they're not super loud, so they're not breaking the noise ordinance. But 50 people in a backyard unmasked and drinking is certainly not going to be good in terms of the spread of the virus. So my question is, what should people do about that? And I know people want to call, but they don't call because they can't do it anonymously and they don't want their neighbor to know they called. So people are just kind of living with this fear of these parties happening in neighborhoods.
Well,
so what should we do? What should we do, Lieutenant Buford?
You can actually still call and just request to be anonymous. And when the call comes out to the actual deputies who are going to respond, it will show that the caller remains anonymous, and we will not contact that caller. But we will go to that party and then inform them, that they're in violation of the health order and they actually need to break the party up. And we will let them know that, that fines will be forthcoming, and they can be pretty hefty for doing things like this. So yeah, please don't hesitate to call, because you can't remain anonymous.
Okay, I will certainly put that word out to folks, because folks have feared retaliation and have been concerned, not because the party was, in another time, nobody would call.
I understand.
Nobody would call, and nobody wants to be a narc about this. But on the other hand, 50 people unmasked and drinking are not social distancing.
Exactly. So yes, please have them call. Like I said, it can remain anonymous.
All right, thank you. And I'll pass that on to folks who've asked me that question.
Yes, ma'am.
Melinda, I haven't heard that term since I was in high school.
Narc?
So congratulations. So are there any further questions for Lieutenant Buford from the committee or from our public?
George.
Yes, please.
Go ahead, George.
It's a little offbeat, it's a little strange, and it popped into my head as a result of me being in a community group. So this is an odd question for you, Lieutenant. In your time at base station, have you had any reason or opportunity, or any of the deputies had reason or opportunity, if you're dealing with someone who's being detained and handcuffed, that you would handcuff the individual to the bumper of one of the police cruisers?
Well, that's a very dynamic thing because I'll have to actually be on scene and seeing what that total situation would. Because if there's some exigent circumstance that has to happen at that time, then maybe for temporarily, but not for a long time. But once again, it all is dynamic. It depends on independent situations.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. We had a question from Sydney Thompson.
Yes, and you probably are the wrong person, but maybe you can direct me. We had asked several months ago, someone had asked several months ago how we could get a yield sign on the right turn off of Valley View, off of the dam road onto Valley View.
Okay.
Are you the right person, or do we?
You know what? I'll give you my best shot at this. You know, I think that would start with some with public works and traffic studies, which unfortunately it wouldn't be my area. But I think if you start with public works, and they probably can tell you, how to go about that, and with CHP and traffic studies, because it's going to have to probably be a traffic study done before any kind of traffic signs go up, giving you my best answer.
Okay.
Sydney, call me tomorrow. Call me. I'm in the office tomorrow. Sydney, call me. Lieutenant Buford is correct. We'll have to speak with Public Works, and I'll need to know which direction and things like that. But if you call me tomorrow,
Well, it's a right turn off of the dam road onto Valley View. And Melinda, I'm sure you have seen this. If you're making a left turn onto Valley View and you want to go down Olinda, you can't get there because the traffic's coming off, and it's somewhat dangerous. It's just a little yield sign is all we need. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I add something? This is John Joya.
Yes,
and I
sir.
know James will take note, and because that's also, frankly, also a public works issue when we can get our traffic engineer out there. That's handled by the traffic engineer in public works, and they could go out and take a look at that and make a recommendation. So I'm sure James can follow up with you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions, particularly from those of us who are on the phone?
I've unmuted everyone that's on the phone if someone has a question.
Hello, this is Firefighter Schleck with Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. We didn't get a chance to present.
Oh. Sir, we will.
You're up next.
We will. Yep, you're up next, and we definitely haven't forgotten about you. We'll get to you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, are there more questions for Lieutenant Buford? If there are no further questions for Lieutenant Buford, thank you very much, sir. And we can go on to the presentation from the Contra Costa Fire.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you, Lieutenant Buford.
Okay. Very short report here. For the month of July, we've had 120 calls for service on our regular responding unit, Engine 69, 8 calls for service on our rescue, and 9 calls for service on Engine 369, which is our vegetation fire response engine. Other than that, I don't have any other news. If there's any questions.
Does anyone have questions for Confire?
Thanks for Firefighter Schleck, so I'll add to that report.
Okay. All right. Okay. Chief Gage, I think it's on you, sir.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Through the magic of technology, we're going to try to make a presentation to you. So I'm going to try to share a screen with everyone so you can see the presentation.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay.
All right. Can everybody see the presentation?
Wow.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. I'll see. So we'll go ahead and start. Thank you, everyone, for giving us the opportunity to make a presentation. My name is Lon Gage. I'm an assistant fire chief with Contra Costa County Fire. I've been with Con Fire for 20 years. I've been in the fire service for 32. Most of my career at Con Fire actually worked in West County. Loved working in West County. For the past 8 years, I've been in our administration, but I've worked most of my time at Con Fire out of Fire Station 69 in El Sobrante and Fire Station 70 in San Pablo. And then I was also the West County Battalion Chief for about 5 years. So it's great to come home and make a presentation to everyone that lives in West County. So can everybody see the presentation? Our district today should be at the top.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, Con Fire is an evolution department. You know, we have merged from multiple fire agencies throughout Contra Costa County. So in the late 90s, the West County Fire Protection District and the Riverview Fire District out in East County came into Contra Costa County Fire and into what we are today. Con Fire is a full service agency. We provide fire suppression services, advanced life support, emergency medical services, technical rescue, hazardous materials response, marine response, helicopter response. We dispatch for about 85% of the county. And then we also oversee the 911 ambulance transport system to all areas of the county with the exception of San Ramon Valley and Moraga Rinda. We also have a full service fire prevention shop, fire investigations, and public education. We're proud to serve one of the most diverse counties in the state. We provide fire and emergency medical services to over 1 million people throughout the county in our 304 square mile fire district. Through mutual aid, we provide services to 20 cities in almost every unincorporated area throughout the county. We provide those services from 26 fire stations, 28 fire companies, and over 400 employees. Our civilian leadership is strong and provides us with a lot of guidance. So our fire district board of directors is actually the county board of supervisors. They meet monthly to focus on fire protection district needs and how to improve our systems and provide better services to the public and assist us in making decisions about the strategies that we use to protect the community. We also have a group of citizen advisory fire commissioners that work more closely within the supervisorial districts to essentially be the link between the public, the board of directors, and all of you tonight. So El Sobrante, we are your fire department. In West County, we actually have 2 fire stations, Fire Station 69 on Appian Way in El Sobrante, and Fire Station 70, which is currently on San Pablo Avenue, but is going to be moving to 23rd Market in the city of San Pablo. All the fire agencies throughout West County operate under automatic aid. We work extremely closely with the City of Pinole Fire Department, the Rodeo Hercules Fire Protection District, in a cooperative that we call Battalion 7 that provides service to San Pablo, El Sobrante, East Richmond Heights, North Richmond, and the communities of Pinole, Rodeo, and Hercules. In addition to that, we work very closely with the City of Richmond Fire Department and the El Cerrito Fire Department. We provide dispatch services for all those agencies with the exception of the City of Richmond. But we work almost seamlessly now with every agency in the county, dispatching resources, closest resources under automatic aid, making sure the closest fire station gets to your service. I apologize about the appearance of this slide. It doesn't translate very well over to my iPad. So I'm going to talk about 3 big issues that we are addressing right now in the fire district. Of course, the coronavirus pandemic response is a challenge for our agency. We are focused at Con Fire to maintain the critical public safety mission that we provide. We're doing that through very closely monitoring and taking care of our personnel and maintaining their health and thereby maintaining the resilience of the fire district and the critical services we provide. We're also constantly adjusting and improving our response and safety procedures and utilizing personal protective equipment to not only protect our firefighters, but also the people that we provide service to. We have recently updated and we are adhering to our continuity of operations plan, and that's essentially a plan to make sure that we continue to provide services at the highest level as we're affected by the pandemic. We have been on the ground level supporting the County Emergency Operations Center and then coordinating the response of all county fire agencies throughout the county. And finally this week, because complacency is something that we fight within our organization, we're conducting a district-wide safety stand down this week, refocusing our efforts and doubling down on our efforts to limit the spread of coronavirus, protecting our personnel and protecting those that we serve. Just a message to the community, please help us help you. Follow the county health orders, wear a mask, stay within your social bubble, and maintain that physical distance. It's that time of the year. It's one of our busiest times of the year, and that has to do with wildland fire. It's a real threat throughout our entire fire district. And while we don't have the frequency of vegetation fires in the western portion of our fire district, the fuel loading is extremely high. And if you see the picture that I have on the screen, most of El Sobrante, East Richmond Heights, El Cerrito, all lie within what we call a high fire hazard severity zone. And that's basically looking at the wildland threat, the fuels, and wildland fire protection, wildland fire prevention is a high priority for our organization, especially in the areas that I just mentioned. The entire community of El Sobrante is what we call an urban wildland interface with a significant wildland fire risk, a relatively densely populated area, and a significant vegetation growth and hilly terrain. Fully 2/3 of our county is actually in some level of a fire hazard severity zone. Our community profiles are very similar to the North Bay, and we know what happened in the North Bay in 2018 when we had the North Bay fires. So essentially, the new wildland fire normal is just earlier and longer fire seasons. And we have adjusted to that, but the threat is significant. One of my specialties is wildland, and we train, we prepare, we attempt to prevent, but we have a high incidence of wildland fires throughout Contra Costa County. This season promises to be no different than prior years. We didn't really have enough, we had enough rain to get a nice big grass crop, but we really didn't get enough rain to give all the wildland fuels the moisture that they need. So we have a high grass fuel load, and we have very dry medium fuels, which would be the brush, and the heavy fuels, which would be the trees. In June, we had an over 4-fold increase in grass and vegetation fires this year. We predict in the summer and fall that this summer is actually going to be longer, and our rains are going to come later in the year. Currently, our brush fuel models are at under 50% live fuel moisture, which is critically low. Those are fuel moistures that we would normally see in late October, getting into November, and it's just, the beginning portion of August. So it's going to be a long fire season. We need everyone's help to prevent wildland fires, and as an agency, we need to stay prepared to respond. In the 2020 fire season, it's going to be dangerous throughout the county. A good example of that was October 27th of last year. We experienced a significant wind-driven wildfire siege in the county. That siege was driven by a historic north wind event with high sustained winds with gusts up to 75 miles an hour. It kicked off an unprecedented near continual continuous series of wildfires throughout the county over an 18-hour period. I was actually on duty that night staffing an additional strike team in the county in preparation for that wind event. And we were very fortunate that we had those additional resources plus many more. During that same time period, we had a major commercial structure fire in downtown Walnut Creek. And we also had a mass casualty event that occurred in the city of Martinez. Each of these fires represented an exceptional danger to life and property throughout the county. These incidents occurred during a public safety power shutoff. The graphs on the side of the screen kind of represent, you know, our call volume on the same day back in 2018, and then what we confronted in 2019, and it was incredible. The organization, we were very fortunate to be on a shift change on the morning of October 27th. We held all personnel from going off duty. So we essentially doubled the size of Contra Costa Fire and the resources that we staffed. We staffed everything with wheels and responded for 18 hours, and fortunately didn't have any significant loss of property. We lost one commercial structure in the city of Lafayette that was involved upon our arrival, but we were able to save all the homes on all the fires we had throughout that day. So it just goes to show that, you know, those north wind events are really the threat that we face in the Bay Area. The other threat we deal with is the public safety power shutoffs that occur every year. In an attempt to reduce starts from down power lines, PG&E implements precautionary measures to reduce wildland fire risk. When they determine that the fire danger is extreme, they'll actually shut down portions of the electrical grid, which creates a lot of challenges for everyone. But the goal is to attempt to reduce fires that are started due to down power lines during those critical weather periods. Everyone should be ready, you know, prepare for outages that can last up to 48 hours. It presents all types of unique challenges for residents and first responders alike. So we actually stand up our emergency operations center countywide anytime we have a public safety power shutoff, so we can maximize all the services that the county provides to, you know, assist the public during that period of time and assist those that need us to manage through those public safety power shutoffs. The county, the state, many agencies have been working with PG&E to limit the impacts of the public during these public safety power shutoffs. PG&E promises to try to make early warning notifications to residents before shutting off the power, providing ongoing updates, doing safety inspections in the areas, in the areas that are affected, so they can restore power as quickly as possible. Just want to make sure I'm not talking to a blank screen. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So we're constantly working towards a safer West County. One of the biggest improvements that I've seen in my many years at Con Fires, we're actually building a new fire station in the city of San Pablo. So our crews at Station 70 have operated out of essentially modular buildings for over 20 years. And we partnered with the city of San Pablo, and we are building a model fire station for the county. So Station 70 is a partnership between the city of San Pablo and the fire district. The construction is progressing well. We anticipate that we'll open the new Station 70 in spring of 2021. We also plan to upgrade one of the two staffed apparatus at Station 70 from a two-person EMS squad to a fully staffed truck company that will not only be able to provide EMS, but improve our fire protection response. That'll be an incredible asset to have in West County. Again, we're looking to make continual improvement to better serve our communities through fire prevention. We are out there trying to make sure that exterior hazards are addressed. We have a weed abatement policy that we try to enforce to limit the threat of wildland fire. This year we added our first hand crew in the history of Con Fire. We're calling it Crew 12. So we have 12 of our fire control workers that are trained up, and they work with 2 of our career fire captains, and they are here to assist with fuels mitigation, but also provide response for wildland fires throughout the county. They have been extremely busy this year, and it's a great asset to our organization and gives us the ability to upstaff seasonally in a time of the year when we're at our busiest. We've also been partners with the North Dorinda Shaded Fuel Break, which is basically a fire prevention measure that runs from Pleasant Hill Road in Lafayette all the way to Inspiration Point in Wildcat Canyon. And that is a fuel project that is designed to protect all of the communities essentially along the 24 corridor from a fire starting in the Briones Valley area and moving to the south. We are providing and planning. We participate in the OES pre-positioning program, where when fire danger increases, we apply for essentially a grant from the state, and they basically approve that grant, and we are able to upstaff additional engine companies, strike team leaders, water tenders to better respond to wildland fires during that increased fire threat. We provided a residence guide to all of our residents to how to prepare for wildland fires, conduct defensible space on their properties, and how to evacuate. We'll cover that a little more in detail here in a minute. We've also improved our recall policies. So as I was talking about on the 27th, we essentially doubled the normal size of our fire department on that day. We have improved our systems to be able to recall personnel and be able to staff additional apparatus in case of a disaster. We've also reopened Fire Station 16 in the city of Lafayette. As I was telling you, Fire Station 70 is planned to open in spring of 21. We've made multiple improvements to our fleet. We've bought 2 smaller Type 6 wildland fire engines that are deployed in East County to assist us in responding to wildland fires more effectively. We have added 2 2,000-gallon water tenders to our fleet, which really help us in wildland fires and then responses to fires in rural areas. We've added a second dozer to our dozer program, and we have added and improved the reserve apparatus that we have throughout the county. When we upstaff our apparatus, we got to make sure that everyone can communicate. So we have purchased additional portable radios. So when we upstaff in cases like last October, we have adequate communications for all of our personnel. One of the recent improvements that we have ventured into at Con Fire is a public-private partnership with Reach Medical Helicopters. So through a cooperative agreement with Reach and Con Fire, we've actually brought 2 medical helicopters back to Buchanan Field in the middle of Contra Costa County. We were operating with 1 medical helicopter for about 2 years, but we've been able to partner with Reach to not only bring an additional medical helicopter to Contra Costa County, but also equip one of those helicopters with fire rescue and EMS capabilities staffed by one of our fire captain paramedics. So by the end of summer, we should be able to respond to vegetation fires with that helicopter and drop water, and then shortly thereafter be able to conduct aerial rescues with that helicopter. The great advantage for the public is that's done through a public-private partnership which actually saves millions of dollars in terms of helicopters, helicopter pilots, and it's an innovative public-private partnership that we hope will provide life-saving services to everyone in the county. We're also trying to stay on the front end of technology. We are heavily involved with the Alert Wildfire camera system throughout the state of California. there are a network of cameras that we are utilizing to essentially be the modern lookout. If you're familiar with wildland fire agencies, both at the state and the federal level, it's common for them to staff lookouts with a human up in a lookout watching for wildland fires. In today's technology, there's cameras on almost every repeater site throughout Contra Costa County. So now we can monitor those cameras and detect fires earlier. We can also use those cameras to observe the conditions and improve our responses to those fires. Provides incredible situational awareness for us, allows us to upgrade the responses and monitor the fires more closely. We also work very closely with the county's community warning system to improve evacuations. We were successful in getting a grant that will benefit the entire county through having a better early warning system for the public and a enhanced evacuation plan that we can utilize from every fire chief's vehicle to be able to more effectively communicate evacuations and give people the proper information quicker, earlier in a wildland incident. This is my last slide. Thank you so much for your attention. What can citizens do? Read and take to heart the County Residents Guide. I can provide that through James to everyone on the call, anyone who wants to review that. The Wildland Fire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide is a joint venture between us and the County Sheriff's Department, Office of Emergency Services, to provide the public with the best information on how to prepare for a wildland fire. Review Ready, Set, Go, which is a system that we use to help people prepare for wildland fire evacuation, and then all the evacuation information that the public needs, including how to register on the community warning system. It'll walk you through how to prepare your home, your property, develop an evacuation plan, develop a go bag, how to stay informed, and most importantly, reaching out, working with your neighbors and assisting your neighbors that could use your help. And it also gives you some information on how to prepare for those public safety power shutoffs. That information is available at our website, and it's also available at the county website for the community warning system. Again, I'm happy to provide these contacts to James so he can provide them to all of you. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm happy to take questions.
Well, thank you very much. That was oh, go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying thank you. No, already had time.
Yeah. No, that was an excellent presentation, really informative. Thanks so much. I have a quick question regarding the alert cameras. So how closely spaced are those repeater sites?
That's a really specific question.
Just ballpark.
Have a specific answer to.
You're breaking up.
I think we lost you, Chief.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So in Contra Costa County, I would say there's about 8 repeater sites countywide. In West County, I know specifically there are 3.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, you mentioned that there was a fire station on Appian Way. What is the station that's on Valley View that's next to Amend?
That's a Richmond fire station.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, that is Richmond Fire Station 63. And we work in cooperation with Richmond Fire. So if there's an emergency in the county area, if you live in El Sobrante or one of the unincorporated areas surrounding El Sobrante, we, through our computer-aided dispatch system, can find the closest fire station and dispatch them. And in that valley area, it's frequently Station 63.
Oh, okay. I have one other question. Is today I was out hiking near the dam in Kennedy Grove, and I saw a whole bunch of goats eating the grass. And I was wondering if the goats are part of the the wildland, wildfire mitigation project, or what is, who brings in those goats? And
they sure are, and they are really effective. I believe that project is being marshaled by the East Bay Regional Parks District to improve the wildland urban interface between, like the city of San Pablo, city of Richmond, El Sobrante area, kind of along the rim of Wildcat Canyon Park. I could check into it, but I'm pretty sure it's probably East Bay Regional Parks. A lot of different agencies work with the goats. I know Rodeo Hercules uses them along the interchanges. They're super effective, and we would like to see more goat teams throughout the county for sure.
So Chief, this is Melinda McLean, and I would just add that the ones that are actually on the dam are East Bay mud.
Oh, okay.
If they're on that back of the dam, Mickey, those are actually East Bay mud's goats. But I really think that, Con Fire should have a goat battalion.
Yeah, that would be great.
So I actually did have another question.
Sure.
And this comes also from Chris Conway, who put it in the chat. It's been my personal experience. A couple years ago, a neighbor had a huge 50-foot oak tree come down right near the creek, landed on our land, didn't block the creek, etc. And about 2 weeks ago, we had another 30-foot tree come down. I'm assuming all of this is still gifts from the drought. Do you all know, because I know you all are watching the wildland interface, are people losing a lot of trees like this? Chris was saying that they've been losing a lot of really big trees as well. So just curious about whether or not that's something that you all have noticed, or what we can do about that. It's obviously once it comes down, if it blocks the creek, then we have, things to do that have to do with that. Otherwise, it's just try to reduce wildfire risk. But curious about tree loss. Are you all seeing a lot of that?
Well, not knowing the specific variety of tree, there is a significant sudden oak death issue throughout California. So we do see a lot of oak stands that are getting affected. I know as we get farther west in the county, you tend to see less of that. You tend to see more eucalyptus and other type trees. So I would say that, the drought has stricken a lot of different trees. I'm just not sure specifically if it's any worse than it has been in the past.
Are there other questions from the board members for Chief Gage? Anybody else with questions for Chief Gage that's on? Okay. Chief Gage, thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, George.
Thank you, Chief Gage, as always, for your hard work on our behalf. We appreciate you a lot.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, I just transitioned from to nighttime, so it's a little dark on the screen there. I apologize. That's good. We're proud to serve everyone. Please reach out. A lot of our public services, non-emergency, have been affected through the pandemic, so we're not able to get out and do the tours that we like to do with young people, or the in-person meetings, but we want to try to maintain the communication with everyone. So please reach out to James. He's got my contacts. We're more than happy to assist in any of the wildland fire prevention efforts that are going. It's a noble cause, and it's definitely something that we have to focus on as a community long term, because these things don't go away quickly. You just got to stay on them and stay vigilant. And
lost. Okay.
Your spaces and out of your gut. Thanks a lot.
Thank you much. All right, if there are no more questions for Chief Gage, thank you, sir. And we will move on with our agenda. Tom, I lost you. Where'd you? Oh, there you are. So next on the agenda is, Tom, are you there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't wanna-
So here I am. So this is, we typically now go to a section for public comment. But James, I have a question for you. There
Please.
is a citizen who wants to make a public comment, but is unable to connect to our Zoom meeting.
Okay.
If I send you through chat, if I send you her cell number, would you be able to connect her?
No.
Work with her?
Now, if she's got a cell phone, she can call in. I included the 844 number in the email that I sent out, so you can send that to her, and she can call in. And I'll notice.
Right.
I'll notice it. It'll pop up on my screen. Well, it should pop up on everyone's screen.
So she just emailed me. So what I'll do is I'll send her the call-in number 0254-278-0254.
That's, I don't have it memorized, but that sounds right.
Yeah.
The last 4 digits.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and
She'll need the meeting ID. She'll need the meeting ID
and I'll
and all that other information too.
Okay, so I will get in contact with her while you go on and conduct the public comment.
Okay. Is there, I guess we're all sort of on video mode now. Is there anyone that has a public comment? You can kind of wave your hand at me. Go ahead, Marilyn.
This is really an apology because I accidentally included the Facebook comment earlier, and I was going to announce that in the public comment and then the animal shelter. But I do hope everyone is aware of just how disruptive it's going to be to have no animal control on our side of the hills. It's already a problem.
Yep. And I will send out to everyone the press release and so forth that the Animal Services Department put out. I'll make sure to send that to everyone. They sent some other information as well. If there is no one else for public comment, the last thing, I sent the MAC members a letter of support. And I'll talk about this a little bit. So the Public Works Department about 8 or 9 months ago came to the MAC and they want to make San Pablo Dam Road more safe. And a survey was sent out to some residents. And what they want to do is add 2, you may have seen them before, they're crossing bridges. Well, not a bridge, but they have the light that goes across the street and it stops. There are, I think, 4 or 5 places between Valley View and Lake Ridge where you can cross the street, and they're all at controlled intersections. One of the largest issues that folks have brought up kind of since I've been here, where do we cross the road on San Pablo Dam Road? And this is a project to address that. And the MAC members received a copy of the letter. Please take time to look at it. Give me your thoughts, and we will put the final version in the agenda for the month of September. That way we can officially vote on it. The attachments and so forth haven't been included in the agenda for a number of reasons that have been wonky on my end. But please take a look at it. But that's the project that it's about. Yep, so please take a look at that. Give me your comments and your feedback. Then we can include it in the agenda for September, vote on it, and we can be good to go on that.
James, did you get did you have a chance to see my email about it? Because I already commented on it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Got it, thank you. I got yours. And that's why, and Mickey, in response to your email, that's the project that they're asking for comment on.
So James, if we could just reach out to I guess it's Alexander.
Yep, you get in the comments.
Would you like me to send him an email to tell him we'll discuss it in the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll reach out to him. He and I are going to talk tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Yep. So I don't have a whole lot of comments. I just want to continue to encourage everyone to stay safe, do all the things that you're seeing on TV, washing your hands, keeping your hands off your face and nose, all those things I've been rubbing my face during our meeting. Please stay safe. we are on calls 3 or 4 times a week, and we get to hear the health officers with their regular updates. And in almost a decade of working for Supervisor Joya, this has been the most sobering 5 months that I've worked for him. Please take care of yourself, if for no other reason than to protect yourself and those around you. Please give strong consideration to that. We are very aware that the animal shelter, that our shelter in Pinole that's closing, is going to have a very strong impact. I'm sure those of you that are familiar with West County know that we love our animals, and there has not been a shortage of spirited phone calls that I've had the last week with individuals expressing their, they ain't so happy. I'm just gonna say it like that.
They're expressing their concern and their dismay. How about that?
So some of the words go beyond concern and dismay that have been used with me.
Very, very polite.
It's definitely some concern and dismay. Some of it is throwing a couple of jabs and hooks, but we understand. I'm saying all that to say that we understand. Supervisor Joy has been a dog owner for many years, since probably before his kids were born. We are sympathetic and empathetic to the stress that this is going to put on all of us. But I also want to include, we're not losing our officers, our animal control officers that patrol West County. We are not. So we are not losing that person, because it does tend to rotate. We are not losing that. We are just, the shelter is closing, but no, we will still have an officers that rotate on the West End to respond to calls for service.
Yeah, because separate from, the shelter, there is also the issue of that officer is involved in, we have an awful lot of wild animals around too, and stuff happens. And sometimes we can't handle it without help.
Yeah.
When you've got a coyote or a bobcat and they're headed for your chickens, somebody's going to have to be called.
Yep.
So I do know people will be really grateful to hear that the officer is still available, because separate of the shelter, that's an important service too.
So the officers are all the vehicles and the staff, their lockers are all based out of Martinez. I'm sure there is some interaction with the Pinole shelter between the officer, but in my time here, I'm just not sure what it is. It's always been, they're based out of Martinez. They drive out here to patrol and respond to calls. Obviously, if it changes and we lose an officer, I will definitely tell everyone that that's nothing that I would want anybody to be surprised about. But as it stands, we are thankfully not losing our officers for West County. Yes, Marilyn.
I don't know if we still have a phone person, but this is Marilyn Sarney. See, thank you, Melinda. But I do have some concerns that with the savings, they're not going to pay attention to how they're going to provide services for the areas they've abandoned serving. So I don't know if you guys know, but their standard advice for lost animals is leave them where they are loose. And this has been their policy now ever since the COVID-19 started. And without a shelter here, I don't know if you guys know, but their ways of handling their records, so people know that your dog is there in Martinez, or that somebody has reported your dog has been found, but it's very bad. As someone who works with, used to work with computer people and software designers, I find it actually abysmal and shameful. So if they're going to not serve by having convenient access elsewhere, they are going to have to up their game so people can look at the animals in the shelter to identify their own. I really think that's going to be a critical piece. Otherwise, I don't see why we should be paying our taxes to them, because they're really not very accessible in Martinez. I don't know if you guys know where the shelter is, but it's like in nowhere's land, and you have to have a car, and the hours are limited, very limited. So I'm just saying, if you can push that they're going to have to up their game, if they're going to cut that much service, that's really important.
Indeed. I will definitely, when I speak with Lieutenant Morales, I will definitely convey that you are spot on with that. And for a little framing of that, everyone in East County says exactly what you say, because there is no Martinez, as Supervisor Joe was explaining earlier, from Martinez to Discovery Bay to further out, they have to drive into Martinez. That is, I didn't say that to provide any comfort or anything, just it's something that Beth Ward, who's the Animal Services Director, has had to work with, and they have said that they are going to look into more mobile sites. I don't know what that means or what that's intended to serve. That's what was shared, but do know that they will articulate all of this to these supervisors and me. I am the Animal Services contact for our office. So I'm in contact with their PIO, their Public Information Officer. So as this shapes up and we find out what the services are going to look like, I will definitely let everyone know.
And I will go ahead and post that press release, James, on our local next door right away.
Okay, I will email that out.
It's going to be a shock for many people.
Yeah, imagine so. Okay, I am done running my mouth for this day. If there are questions that you have for me, I'm happy to take questions right now. If folks have things they want me to look into, questions, concerns.
I have one I typed in. This is Conrad. Earlier, there was a lot of illegal fireworks stuff going on, and it seems like it's subsided. But I was just wondering if maybe it was more apropos had I asked while the police chief was here. But is there a plan for next year to try to prevent this from happening, or is there any kind of coordinated regional approach that's going to be taken to solve this? Because I thought it was not only loud and problematic, but it was high risk of something going wrong out there.
What I'm hearing and what the thought amongst folks is, this was sort of an anomaly. We typically get fireworks a couple of days before the 4th, generally not 2.5 months leading up to the 4th. But I will repeat what the sheriff and the police chiefs have said. This was an anomaly in that folks weren't staying in one place. They were firing the fireworks out of moving vehicles so that they couldn't be caught. Just about every call that was a response to fireworks, when they arrived, there's just paper on the ground. They, meaning law enforcement, will be looking at how to address that. Crossing our fingers that it just doesn't happen for 2 months again. I'm just not familiar with the fireworks going on for that long prior to the 4th. Is there a way to stop it, to catch them? If there is, we have not put our heads together and figured that out. The police department.
Is there a sense of why, other than the fact that I guess people had time on their hands or something, but
I believe it was
how did those fireworks get out there like that?
Oh, now the fireworks. Now, being a kid growing up here on the south side of Richmond, I can get you fireworks whenever you want. I mean, growing up, the accessibility to it was always there. But this year, with the protests around George Floyd and people being out, that's the association that, at least that I've made, my peers, with why the fireworks started so early this year. A lot of those protests that began in early May, they included folks with fireworks, a lot of fireworks. And the thought is that just carried over. We are not anticipating that to happen in 2021, but I'll let you know in May how we're dealing with that. But that was really an anomaly. I've lived here for forever, and it's never been fireworks like that for 2 months at any period, but certainly not leading up to the 4th. I just don't have any memories of it being something quite like that, Chris. So the hope is that it doesn't happen again, but unfortunately, if it does, them stopping it I don't know what that looks like. Our law enforcement wasn't able to this year. And a lot of it would come down to neighbors and folks kind of reporting it as they saw, vehicles driving off, things like that. And that's probably the most that we can do, is if you see something, say something. But in terms of prevention, fireworks are legal in some counties in this state, and people buy them in a county where it's legal and then drive to Contra Costa County where it's not legal. And illegal fireworks have always been a thing. But we are not certain, especially from those loud booming ones that reminded me of being in the Marines. No idea where any of those were coming from. And I do know that there are folks looking into that, trying to partner with ATF to figure out, hey, where were some of these things that weren't fireworks, the sparklers and things like that, the things that were booming and shaking the houses and things like that. They will still be looking into that, trying to find the source of where those types of fireworks were coming.
Well, I have suggestions for technical means to monitor them next year, but probably the ACLU wouldn't like what I suggest, so I won't say anything.
Well, please know that we're recording this meeting, and don't say anything that you don't want anyone else to see later. But Tom, certainly as we approach next year, if it starts being crazy like it was this year, we'll certainly entertain and listen to all suggestions. Go ahead, Mickey.
Is anything, I haven't heard any new updates about the swastika situation here. Is that still an issue?
Belinda?
I can answer that question. He has now graveled it up and parked cars on it. So community pressure worked again. I can't say any more other than that, other than if you've seen the video that Supervisor Joya's office did in collaboration with NIOT. It's a really terrific video. But I also know just the neighbors in that guy's area were, shall we say,
upset,
they
upset, pissed off, angry.
They persevered. They were very, very, very good at applying steady, solid pressure.
Okay.
It takes a lot of endurance and perseverance sometimes to wear somebody down, and they did. So, will it get uncovered again? I don't know, but at this point, it's fully covered and not a problem anymore.
Oh, great.
Thank you for that. Anything else about anything else from anyone? Vicki?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the point where we announce that you have a page up for the
sure.
illegal dumping, and thank you for that. There was a typo that we found, and we're going to send that over to you to put up. The only suggestion I would have at this point for that page would be making it easier. How do you report? Maybe a sentence or two. How do you report? And give the phone number and the email address right on that page.
I will absolutely.
So I'm excited about that. And then a way of maybe advertising that we do have this page up would be a good thing.
It'll be in the next agenda. Please remind me.
Okay.
Yes, my plan is to put in the next agenda.
Yeah, and I also noticed I haven't had this conversation yet, but I plan on talking to the people from the green team that's out there in downtown cleaning up the litter. And I suggested, how about if we expand beyond just the downtown area and continue on down San Pablo Dam Road? That would be a good thing. And there seems to be some interest with the green team that maybe if we can make it just an adults only thing, because it's more dangerous because there's not sidewalks to be necessarily cleaning up on the whole way. And so I have to have this conversation with her, because I was encouraged that she that they were open to expanding at least the litter pickup. So that was nice. And Sydney, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I did, because I've been active with the green team until the coronavirus, and now my kids keep me locked in the house. Old ladies, if you get it, you might not make it back. So they're being very careful with me, and they don't want me out doing that sort of thing. But I have to tell you that there are not very many people on the green team now.
Oh.
It used to be, when it first started, it was quite, you know, there were like 25, 30 people, but now, you know, the last time I went out, we were down to 5 people.
Oh.
Okay.
So I don't know what the situation is now, because I haven't gone out for the last couple of times.
Okay.
But there are not very many people. And so it's hard to just get enough people out to do the downtown area. We did do some other areas earlier when Maurice was still alive and was organizing things. But it's really, there just aren't very many people. And part of the reason may be that there are people like me who my family does not want me doing something where I might pick up something and pick up coronavirus. You know, that's their major concern.
So, Sydney, I think you're pointing towards something that always happens in communities.
You're absolutely right.
When it comes to the green team, when Maurice Abraham no longer could really push it and organize it and keep it going and recruit people, and it withered. This happens in every church I've ever served. And so, Mickey, I think those of us who haven't previously been doing that, they need some new blood.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest maybe making it a little later. I'm not a real early morning person, so
well,
that kind of prevents me.
I'm with you. I would rather be on the later green team.
Yeah, so I'll suggest that, and maybe they could have like 2 teams. Like one starts at the people who want to start at 9 o'clock can start 9, and those of us who want to start later than that would be maybe
Mickey, Mickey, I just want you to know that I was on one of the earlier green teams, and we started at 10 because I told them I was not joining up if you start before 10. But I've been sucked up into other nonprofit volunteer stuff, so I told them I didn't think I'd be working on anymore. And that's how those things work, right, Melinda? People move on. But it would be certainly great if a lot of younger people would come in.
It wouldn't it though?
Yeah.
So someone please send me the green team, a contact person for the green team.
I will give it to you tomorrow when I talk to you.
Sounds good. It's because we can just add a flyer to the agenda and keep it on there for a couple of agendas. We can share it on Supervisor Joy's Facebook page. She has a news Facebook page. We can send it to the Boys and Girls Club. We can, I almost said the YMCA, but YMCA is no longer out.
At one point, I had a flyer of a group of students from El Sobrante, from De Anza. From De Anza, who were very interested in doing community service and volunteering. I think they actually even have like a requirement. And, they're young, they can be masked, they can be spread out. When we clean up the Sobrante Avenue long beds at the property, it's pretty easy when you're doing that kind of work especially when you're wearing a mask, to just stay far apart, and you're outside, and you can do a lot of work with, even a pretty good group of people. They can stay very far apart. So, we can keep doing this kind of cleanup work but yeah, let's connect with the green team people and see if we can inject some energy into that.
That would really help.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So we'll talk about that tomorrow, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
John's his news and events thing is very, very effective. Every time you all posted one of our work days, I picked up a lot of volunteers and people. So
That's
It's,
good. That's
it's
good to know.
very effective at getting people, especially if it's a specific time and people know really what's going to happen. It really, I found it to be very effective at getting people out.
Good to know. Good. I'll definitely let John know that. We use it heavily, and we add everybody who wants to be on there. And Robert Rogers, he's out on paternity leave right now with the, goodness, Luke was born Sunday. So a very, very brand new baby. But Robert is solely responsible for that. None of us in the office take any credit for that. If you send him a flyer and it's something that we can share that's, not divisive or anything, we put it out. We put everything out there, and it is a really large resource. We see the hundreds and thousands of people that view it, even though they may not like or comment on the post. We see just how many people see it, and every post gets somewhere between 800 and 1,200 views.
Yeah, it's very clear. It has real reach. So
Sydney, we'll talk about the green team. We will definitely talk about the green team tomorrow. Mickey, don't let me forget to add whatever it is that I said I'd add, because I've already forgotten.
Okay, I'll send you an email.
Okay. And things for next month. Presenters are not really coming out the woodworks to show up at meetings just yet. I was very happy to get Chief Gage on. To put in perspective his position, he reports to the chief. He's an assistant fire chief, so there's the chief, and he's one of the 3 assistants. And he used to be the battalion chief when, God rest her soul, Barbara Pendergrass was running the MACs for a bunch of years. And that's where we all got to have a lot of FaceTime with Chief Gage, and he is very pro-West County. We are very fortunate to have one of the assistant chiefs come from El Sobrante MAC meetings. So everything that he said, he absolutely means. I know him to be a man with tremendous integrity. So if you have questions for the fire district, do send them to me, and I will get them to him, or I can partner you with Chief Gage.
And Barb, bless her soul. Barb, bless her soul. She could never pronounce his last name. Never. And he came to the meetings every single month. And every single month, it was like, Chief, Lon,
we all got a good smile every month out of that.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Could we maybe get a green team presentation at one of these MAC meetings? That would be.
After Sydney and I talk tomorrow, whomever the contact is, I will speak to them and ask for that very thing. And I have some resources that we may be able to use with them. In addition to whatever they've got going on, the county has a Adopt a Road program. They'll come pick up trash bags. So there are other resources out there, and I think if we just put the call out there, we can get some attention on this. And I have some ideas for other areas outside of just the downtown corridor that I get more calls about than the downtown corridor. As you approach Valley View on Dam Road, that area is probably the roughest stretch of Dam Road, between where that Shell gas station is, and if you're going towards San Pablo, you pass Ed's Bar, the apartments on either side right there, where the road just falls off.
Oh yeah.
I've called in refrigerators, dryers, stoves, several dozen cars with no tires, glass. That is a very popular area, and I think it's because it's kind of dark, and the trees block what light there is there. But that area, anyway, I'm running my mouth.
So I just had a couple of things. James,
what's up?
When I was hiking in Point Pinole, I crossed paths with a person who is working in an organization to create a new East Bay Regional Park in the area of Point Molate. And I'm wondering if something like a regional park would be kind of in the purview of presenting to the ESMAC for people's information.
So I'm not certain what the process looks like to incorporate into East Bay Regional Parks District, but we can ask them.
I think she just wants to come and present
she wants to present
virtually.
her idea. She wants to present her idea that
and her
Point Pinole should
organization
be part of East Bay Regional Parks District.
Yes, she just wants to present this to the MAC.
Sure, she's
So-
she's more than welcome to come and make that presentation.
Okay, so
But that's
I
to make
told
it
her
to
to
East Bay
contact
Regional
you.
Parks as well,
Right.
because the county has nothing to do with that.
And so just another question for those of you out there who might be interested. My other role in the community is in the Chamber of Commerce, El Sobrante Chamber of Commerce. And we are doing a promotion for local businesses and organizations where we will host videos that you produce for free on our website. And this is a community service just aimed at ginning up interest for businesses in the area, not just in El Sobrante proper, but in, anywhere in the valley, in our community, whether it's Richmond, San Pablo, El Sobrante. And if, you want to shoot a 1-minute video and send it to me, we can edit it, professionalize it, and put it on our website, so that those who visit our website can know about you. And if you can spread this to businesses like restaurants, or other organizations, we're here to help out the community in these times.
Tom, if you have a flyer for that, I will happily include that in our next agenda.
Okay, great. I'll send it your way. So, go ahead, James.
No, go ahead. I was gonna, go ahead.
It doesn't seem like there are any further agenda items.
Tomas.
So I think we can adjourn the meeting, and thank you, James. You were roundly thanked in the chat function, but it's a good opportunity to thank you for your hard work and extra hours in coordinating these meetings.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for your interest and your participation.
And some applause for James too. That's what this is.
Thank you. I appreciate you all so much. I don't normally have issues with technology. I'm not sure what happened tonight, but I will square it away for next month. I promise.
And thank you, Tom, for a well
thank you, Tom.
run meeting. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for monitoring the chat. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye,
I'll do this again tomorrow night. You all take care.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.